Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Racers Driving League for Season 19, Round 13 of the season. Welcome to the Hungaroring for the Hungarian Grand Prix. I'm your host, Zach RC, here to take you through another fantastic evening as we kick off the second half of what has already been an enthralling yet dominated RDL season thus far here on F1 25. And of course, that name remains at the top of the standing, as always. Grumio now leads by 76 points in the Drivers' Championship, so a lot of work on the plates of the entire field to try and catch up with him over the second half of the season, which of course kicked off tonight. We'll see the first car emerging onto the circuit here, Imri for the first qualifying lap. Che joining him on the circuit as well, those two gunning for first runs early on here. Of course, Imri looking to try and bounce back after last week in Belgium. Of course, this coming at the race that he won 3 seasons ago. This being his first of his 2 RDL victories, the second one coming in Qatar that same season. And of course looking to try and break that winless streak. Che there currently on his outlap here. Obviously still yet to win this season, so slight concern there for Che, who of course was Grumio's main chaser over the course of last season. Grumio, though, having taken 9 wins from 12, remains just a 3 race winners this season. Grumio with 9 wins, Dan with 2, and of course Pope with 1 win from Saudi Arabia earlier on in the campaign. Imri coming through turns 13 and 14 now, set to kick off the first flying lap of the evening here. So in towards the last right-hander he comes. We'll keep an eye on him as he rounds turn 14 for the start of that first lap. ERS overtaking play on the run down towards that first corner. Quite a long run to turn 1. Keep an eye out for that on the race start. Into that very tight right hand to kick things off. Of course, immediately met with your second DRS zone of the 2 on the circuit. So big overtaking points coming down here at turns 1 and 2. And into 3 now. Of course, that very fast right-hander. And into the end of the first sector, turn 4, waiting at the very top of this hill. 27.001 through turn 4. Careful to go wide there, especially into turn 5. Could mess up your line there. That curve on the inside, that grey curve waiting for you should you get things wrong. Into turn 6 and 7, the chicane now, keeping the car under control. Over the curbs bit there. Careful to avoid hitting that braking marker for 100 yards. And into the end of the more technical second sector, through to turn 9 into 10 now. Through the right hand of 11, lifting slightly there. You hear the cut from the engine. 53.5, second sector. And in towards the last 3 corners, 12, 13 and 14 to end the lap off. Put the car down, top lap mode for the shorter straights. He'll overtake Frisch for a few seconds there. And through turn 14 towards the line. Imri's first lap comes out at 1:15.262. Of course, Imri, one of the 2 drivers who came home as part of the 1-2 combo for Mercedes last season. Pope, of course, won the race as Che goes second fastest, 1:15.5, so a few tenths off of Imri. EJ into 3rd place. Imri coming off of that streak of pole positions a few weeks ago. That streak broken last week in Belgium. Of course, short qualifying with 100% Grand Prix. Only got the 1 lap in the majority of cars. Before, of course, rain disturbed the session. It doesn't seem as though we'll see any rain over the course of the evening tonight, so it looks like all dry running as Tegum's 10th cannon into turn number 8 now. Of course, Imri's teammate. Still getting back into things for their first few races back in the RDL after sitting out the first part of the season. Yellow flag going up towards turn 5. Looking at one of the McLarens. AT's had a problem on his first lap as he gets himself recovered. And pushing on out to the chicane. All 20 cars on track. We are looking at 2 reserves for tonight's race. Brashman reserving for Alvar and Ben reserving for Cott. But aside from that, it's 18 full-time drivers, and at the head of them, Imri after a few minutes. Dan to 3rd place, then 1:15.6. 10th Cannon 4th, 1:16.3. So a bit of a performance golf there between the top 3 and the bottom 3 in terms of time set so far. 18 to the pit lane. Looks like has he got wing damage there? I thought I saw something. We'll keep an eye on things here as the other McLaren landlord makes his exit. In comes AT. I think his wing's okay, but landlord out on the circuit now. And heading down through turn 2. Grumio on his out lap here, of course, as I say, dominant in this first half of the season. It's going to take a lot for anyone to try and challenge him, but of course has done a fantastic job constructors-wise. As a unit, those two sit 33 points clear of Williams. Of course, Dan and Che have long ran second in the championship this season. 167 points for Dan, 126 for Che. But Dan, as I say, still 3 race wins off the lead. Would need Grumio to slip up a lot here. But we come to a track where this season Grumio is not the defending winner, but he has won here before. Number of drivers taking victory. Pope in second place. Of course, Pope won this race last season. Went again back in season 12, sorry. So, multi-time winner around the Hungary ring. And this could perhaps be one of the more wide open races, perhaps. Or it could go the complete other way. Che retiring there from third place. 115.5 on the board for him. Ben in the reserve. Rolf Alpine in P8. 117.7. Not a great start there. I think a lot more work needs to be done. Dan also retiring. The 2 Haas cars calling it quits. Likely already into Q2 from where they are. There's still 11 minutes, so plenty of time for us to come through. As Webster goes P5 there behind those guys. And Grumio 26.9 in the first sector. About a 10th faster than Imri was, which could be a sign of caution for the rest of the field. As JB, his teammate, going down towards turn 2 now, his first lap. Williams, as I say, 33 points behind in the championship. Oh, Grumio a bit wide there through turn 11. Of course, we've seen this before back in the short qualifying days. Grumio crashed late on this session on a good lap. So knows the pain of not taking pole here. He's had his moments as well as his successes. And as he rounds the last corner here to cap off what may be a fastest time in Q1 so far, it's going to be, I think. Nope, he's just missed out. 115.5 for Grumio then, so about just under 3/10 off in terms of relative to Ibri. And half of the drivers tonight having now set lap times. Landlord make that 11. He's up into 7th place, 116.068. Perhaps looking AT, looking at a toe off of his teammate here. Oh! And around he goes. And that will be an entire loss to the front wing there for AT as the Sauber goes on past him there. That'll be HB Cook on his first lap. But AT, a second error in 2 laps, and it's costing him dearly here. 12 cars now set a time. Ben over the line, both Bens across the line. 117.6 for Ben, 357 Lim. JB into P13 there, 138.1. So I'm guessing going again on this lap. Curtis resting the car there, going towards turn number 5. His teammate EJ there on his right. EJ 116.7 on the board. It's not for P10 right now, but only 3 cars slower. One of them being JB with that 138, the anomaly in that case. So I shouldn't imagine that time will stay as it is. I imagine we'll see big improvements from JB on this next lap. Another car over the line. That's Brashman. Now P11, just in front of his RB teammate by almost a second here. 116.8 to 117.6. As Curtis makes his way into the last 2 corners here, looking to put Ferrari once again into the higher qualifying place. Of course, they've been going in qualifying these Ferraris over the course of the season. They've had their ups and they've had their downs. That's definitely one way of putting it. Curtis towards the line, 116.1. Enough for 8th place there. Fantastic first lap. And a great start there for Curtis. 5 more cars set their lap times here. Well, he's got AT, who of course is there waiting in the pit lane for them to bring Landlord in. Ethan is currently on his lap now. HB Cook, Cotley Goblin, and PJ Callagher all in the pit lane. PJ coming in after a tough, well, I imagine it was a tough first run, but his teammate Ethan on his first lap and looking here to reel in the higher places, or at least the top 15 to get himself, of course, into Q2. 8 minutes to go as Ethan rounds the final 2 corners here, looking for a solid lap time to kick things off, or at the very least a banker lap to work on later on. 116.6. It's enough for 10th place. Just in front of Ericsson by just under a quarter of a tenth. JB in P12 there. We're now 116.7 for JB. This top 5 have all retired here. Imri still fastest from Pope, Grumio, Che, and Daniel, top 5. I think that's likely the clear front runners for this evening's race. So we're backing off here, going through the second sector. Likely heading back to the pit lane, I should think. Of course, behind the chase in the Constructors' Championship for the lead. McLaren's sitting in third place, 89 points off the top. Landlord now P4 in the championship. Of course, came awfully close to victory last week in Belgium. Ran the risk, but the tyres fell away. And of course, the late penalty for Grumio wouldn't stop him. He managed to build that 3-second gap before the end. Got a stopped car at turn 1. That's Curtis, I think, has gone around. Yes, he has. Had to wait for the Aston Martin, I believe, of PJ to go through before he can recover himself. And AT now back on the track, fresh wing on that car, and going again. One of 4 cars now to not set a lap time. 3 of those 4 on the circuit. The only one that isn't being Courtney Goblin, who obviously, as we've seen in the past, typically waits towards the end of the session to go for it. Courtney and Ericsson, those are 2 drivers still looking for their first points of the season. Ericsson, just based off Q1 pace, looks a little bit closer to it than Courtney does. But we'll get more of a sense of it, obviously, when Courtney sets his first lap, and we'll see whereabouts it puts him pace-wise relative to the cars around. HB Cook on his first lap, of course, he's been fantastic this season in terms of qualifying and race results. Up to P9 in the Drivers' Championship, 42 points. Majority point scorer for the team this season. Of course, Obsessed Gamer scoring the other 8 to put Kick Sauber P7 in the Constructors here with 42 points. Sorry, with 50 points, apologies. And only 21 off Valpine. So another good result for Sauber tonight. Could put them really amongst that race for P6. Of course, behind them, you've got Aston Martin 11 points back, snapping at their heels, looking for P7. Ferrari currently 16 points back from Aston Martin, but 1 point clear over Visa Cash App Racing Bulls. Of course, your reigning Constructors champions with Grumio and Landlord on the team. And Ben and Alvaro, as a collective, have struggled here this season. Of course, only the top 10 have managed to score more than 20 points this season. The points distribution compared to seasons gone by, definitely a lot more vast. 116.8 for HB Cook is enough to get him into Q2 narrowly right now. So now he's about 8 tenths up on Ben in the RB. But I imagine we should see an improvement. And AT is into going towards the last sector now. 54.5 for AT. I'm looking, thinking this will likely be the lap that gets him into Q2 from here. And that'll move Brashman into the bottom 5. Of course, Brashman can't score as a reserve, so RB have 1 point scoring car in the race as PJ crosses the line, 116.4. That will move Brashman into the bottom 5. And AT gets to P11, so that move HB Cook down there too. So HB Cook, Brashman, both Benz and Courtney Goblin. Currently the cars going out. Brashman improving by almost half a second in the end of Sector 2. We'll see if he's maintained that gap. He comes through to complete his next lap. It's enough for P10. That'll move EJ into 16th place. EJ's just starting on the lap, so things are starting to get a bit more interesting now in terms of your race to get out of Q1 and into Q2. JB on the cut line, but JB, again, starting his lap as well. Ericsson and Ethan both in the pit lane. All of a sudden, those two guys might be in a slight bit of jeopardy if a few more cars start improving. Yellow flag, Sector 1 should be all clear. No one's over there. 3.5 minutes to go. Still waiting on Courtney Goblin to come through for his first run. And we'll see when he does emerge. No sign of the Mercedes mechanics making their way towards the entry of the garages to let him out. 10th Cannon retires there. 10th currently in P9. You're looking at around the low 16. I think that's what you need minimum to get yourself into Q2 comfortably, I should think. Those guys sort of around the mid to high 16s under a bit more pressure, just looking over their shoulders at the cars who could improve below them. EJ into the last 2 corners here, of course. First car going out. Doesn't need much improvement to knock JB out as it stands, but he needs to get himself a good result here in order to try and push his way out of this first qualifying session as he rounds turn 14. DRS in play up towards the line. 124.057. I imagine he's backed off and going again on this lap. I'm really going for it as he goes into turn 1. We'll see how much he improves by this time round when he comes up towards turn 4. But running on board here with the Ferraris, he goes down the hill towards turn 2 and into 3 now. Alpine there on his right. And improving by 200 of a second as it stands. He needs more than that. He needs about 600ths, possibly 7 at minimum to get us into P15. And from there, he needs to hope that no one behind him improves. But Ben is on a lap. Ben the Alpine there on his out lap. And he's got 2 minutes to get around there. Courtney Goblin is on the circuit. The 2 Bens with the 117s not doing enough as of right now by a long way to get themselves into Q2. EJ second down here, so struggling. Red lights on for his fuel. Could that be the possible reason as to why? I mean, pace still seems there, but he's into the pit lane. And that, I think, will likely do it for EJ. That should be him out to qualifying. So EJ, the first car out. HB Cook behind. Again, still there in the bottom 5. Ben into the pit lane now, invalidating his lap. And that'll do it for Ben, I should think. Ben W now into his final, what will be his final lap in Q1. Needs to improve by around a second or so to get himself into Q2. It's a tall order. It's a big ask. Courtney Goblin needs a lap time. This lap has to be the one he nails. He can't be thinking too much about having a banker to improve on it. It needs to be this lap or not at all. 27.3 for Ben in the first sector. He's almost 4 tenths up on his previous effort, but again, needs a second, so needs a lot more than this. Of course, didn't see his first lap, so not sure where he's actually losing the most time. Let's keep an eye on him here in the second sector. JB currently the last car going through to Q2, and not sure in terms of time. I think he's got enough time to get round. Ben only half a second up here, so it's not looking good. He may get himself in front of Ben 357, but I shouldn't think that'll be enough for a run in Q2. As I've been retired from the session. Here comes Ben W through the Alpine. We're in the Alpine last corner here. Checker flag about to come up, I should think. There it is, checker flag. Ben improves to P18, not enough. He's out. HB Cook improving by 600 in the first sector. Again, it needs more than that. It needs about a tenth or so to properly clear himself. JB is there on his last lap trying to prevent anything. If both cars improve, then Ericsson goes out. HB up by half a second now. So is in a good spot, and we'll put JB in the bottom 5 should he close this lap out successfully. And then we'll come down to Ericsson. That's Ericsson towards the line. Stays P14. He improved a little bit. HB Cook towards the line. Up by half a second in the second sector. He's 6.5 up. At the end of sector 3, P9 for him. JB in the bottom 5 now, and with a 10th down in his first sector, needs a big bit of momentum in these final 2 parts of the lap. Got half a lap to go here. And improving by a quarter of a tenth, which isn't enough just yet. He needs a bit more than that to knock Ethan out. JB, the only car, can still change his position here late on in terms of knocking someone else out. Last corner for him. What has he got? Towards the line. And he does improve by enough. Ethan then goes out. Ethan, EJ, Ben W, Ben 357, and Courtney Goblin all go out. And JB then just squeezes in. What an exciting Q1 that was, and it's Imri tops the session by a tenth over Pope. Grumio in third place, a quarter of a second off pace from the top time. Che in P4, Dan 5th, Websy, Landlord, Curtis, HB Cook, and 10th Cannon rounds out your top 10. Brashman, AT, PJ Ericsson, and JB all go through. JB squeezing in by about 400ths of a second here over Ethan the Aston Martin, EJ in P17, Ben W in P18, Ben 357 in P19, and Courtney Goblin rounds out your top 20. Or rounds out your 20 rather, but it's those bottom 5 going out, and we'll not see them again until the Grand Prix, but now it's time for Q2. So we've separated a few cars from the rest, and now it's time for Q2 to get underway here in Hungary. Of course, a very entertaining end to the first part of the session, and rarely we see a fight sort of that close in the end, but here should be where things get a lot more interesting as the margins grow ever tighter for the fight for the 10 spots to fight for pole position in Q3. First few cars emerging onto the racetrack here. And one of the Haas cars first out, that'll be Dan, first onto the circuit. Followed by Pope and followed by Emery. So you see the first few cars making their way onto the circuit then, wasting no time in getting these first laps under their belts. Emery top to Q1, we'll look to try and do more of the same in Q2 here. Majority of cars on the circuit here. 10 cars out there, just the 5 who are still in the pit lane. We'll run on board with Dan this time round as he comes through to start his first lap. Always nice to get a good alternate approach to the driver who we followed in Q1. Of course, that first time we saw from Emery top the session, can Dan do the same thing as he slides the car through turn 14, trying to get a bit more heat in the tyres. And onto his first lap, down towards turn 1. Can go full balls to the wall on battery there. DRS waiting from a corner exit. One of the real tests is to get yourself up to speed as well as avoid losing the car while doing it. Getting that DRS as well. Down through turn 2 into 3. It's 27.057, which is around the same sort of pace as Emery's first sector. Of course, Grimmier was fastest by a few tenths or so in his Q1 time, but lost time in other parts of the circuit, which is why Emery was still fastest. Down way over the curb there, and then validating as a result. And whether he may back off, we'll cut out to Pope, who's still on a valid lap as he comes into the end of the second sector. Close to going wide there, leaving turn 9. But kept it under control, of course. Former winner here knows the way to top step here in Hungary. 54.092 is second sector. Emery not too far behind him. As Dan pits them, Pope round to the final 2 corners. Got a big battery saved up for the last part of the lap. Overtake on and towards the line. Pope with a 1 minute 15. Sorry, 1 minute 16.035. So pace perhaps not quite there as Emery goes 3 tenths quicker. Of course, these guys are likely on their worn sets of soft tyres from Q1, so we will forgive them in terms of lap times for now. These are likely just bankers. And we'll see full pace from these guys later on going onto their fresh sets as Grimmier starts his first lap. Of course, 3rd place in Q1. But pace quite a way down. Emery's still in the 115s there, even on the older set of tyres. And based on what we're seeing in the chat, I'm thinking that JB perhaps doesn't have a new set of tyres to think about here. He hasn't got the set to use to his advantage. I'm not entirely sure what the game plan is there for him. Of course, only just got himself into Q2. Although we'll see him make it into Q3, we'll have to see whether they can pull out the bag. But 9 cars set lap times. Che, 124.8. I think had to back off his first run. And of course, Dan invalidated, but he's getting back on the circuit now for his second attempt. Emery from Pope and Landlord. There are your top 3. And Grimmier invalidating his first lap too. So track limits are becoming a real concern for some of these guys early on in Q2. Grimmier's car looks like he's almost levitating off the ground slightly. So I'm not sure if that's the game just being the game or if that's perhaps my eyes playing with me, but That Williams looks a bit off the ground compared to the other cars. So keep an eye out for Ericsson there into P7. Of course, both Kick Saubers making Q2. Ericsson still going for his first point of the season. He and Cockney Goblin, but of course Ericsson with a good shout here. It's one of the Red Bulls emerges from their pit box. Actually, I think that'd be 10th Cannon. Yes, it is. It's her teammate Imri in P1 there, so the tough act to follow. Brashman there in P4, 1:16.309. Of course, we'll see a bit more true pace when the fresh tyres start to go on, which I imagine we're likely seeing here. I imagine from Dan. Who I think may not have gone for, may have perhaps gone for a banker, or attempts to go for a banker and then put the fresh softs on. We'll see what his time looks like in sector 1 here. Out turn 3 and towards 4. 26.9. Yeah, so these were the fresh tyres then. I think on Dan. See his entry to chicane this time. See who takes it slightly less tight. I think he's trying to use as much curb as he can without going over. Something that he didn't obviously fare too well with last time round. But he's made good work of it this time. And near the end of the second sector, we're looking at a good lap so far from the two-time race winner in season 19. Final 3 corners. Of course, he's got a mountain to climb in the Drivers' Championship. So any result's a good result for him. Any result, gain points on Grumio, we welcome him sure. As Dan now goes fast to 1:15.3 on the board for him. Just can find the grass there on exit of turn 1. A concern for her first lap. Che starts his second lap, 1:24.8 his previous effort, so shouldn't be too much effort required to beat that. Imri also on his fresh set of soft here, going for his second lap. He was, I mean, even Dan's time currently 4/10 faster than Imri, so at the minute looking like Imri may be on it in terms of pace. We'll see what it's like on the soft, fresh soft. 26.930, so improved by 1/10 so far. We'll see how he navigates the rest of the lap. So round ball with him throughout the remainder of the lap. Into the last few corners here, of course, fantastic second sector there. And as Dan enters the pit lane, Imri could be on course to try and break that barrier for lap times. Could we see the first 1:14 of the evening, perhaps, from Imri as he rounds the last corner? Che does it first. Imri does it better. 1:14.791. But both Che and Imri on it. And these two have already had their fair share of scraps from the front row on race starts of the season. Could we see version 3 of that if these two guys can maintain pace in the Grand Prix like that? Brilliant qualifying laps from both of them. Of course, didn't see any of Che, which is gutting because it must have been a fantastic lap to get into the 1:14s, but those two clearly a step above as Grumio comes through on his second lap. Down in P4 there. I think backed off a bit in the first sector. Made a mistake. Some comes 18 to P4. JB again on the cut line here. PJ, Ericsson, HB Cook, Curtis, and 10th. All the minute waiting to try and get themselves out of the bottom 5. There's 5 minutes to go. Hope they're in P6. We'll see what his lap's like. As he comes through the end of the first sector, it's currently just under 3/10 there. So good start of Pope. We'll see if we can improve more over the course of the lap. Bit wide, they're catching a bit of grass going through the second sector. Careful to avoid doing that as he nears the end of sector 2. Invalidating there. And he may have just missed out on what could be the best of his soft tyres on that run. So likely to head back to the pits. Grimmy back in the pit lane too. So not happy perhaps with his Q2 run at all. Curtis there, P7. Remarkable for him. Landlord P8, Brashman P9, and Websy currently the last car going through. And we're still waiting on that bottom 5 to emerge from the pit lane here, as we're likely nearing last runs in the session. So we will see then who's got what it takes to get themselves into that last part of qualifying. AT then into the pit lane, end of his second run. A fantastic second run at that. Of course, sits P7 in the championship, just 10 points off Imri. Landlord now in P4. Of course, that's now looking more like truthfully, more like a four-way scrap for that position, with Landlord leading Pope by 1, it leading Imri by 10, and AT by 20. So all within one race victory of each other. So that fight for 4th place could swing, and obviously if all four of those guys close on Che, we could see a race for the top 3. Of course, with Sim Pope this season, of course, stoutly believes that with those first 4 races that he raced in but didn't score points for as he was a reserve, then he would be right up there looking at top 3 in the championship. And perhaps even chasing down for P2. But given that Pope obviously started with a 4-race buffer behind everyone else, done a fantastic job to get himself into P5, and it's great to see him on his return season once again here on pace. And finds P4 there, improved by 6/10, 1:15.4 on the board for him. And that's been enough to see him into Q3. PJ and 10th Cannon on out laps here. Websy also on the out lap. The last car currently going through. There's 3 minutes to go. And we'll see what PJ's got. Of course, his teammate went out in Q1. I want to try and avoid going out in Q2. Let's ride on board with PJ for his first sector. Slight improvement there from PJ. Improvement by about a quarter of a tenth here. So needs a bit more than that to get himself into Q3. Needs about half a second from where he is now as Grumio retires from P7. So Grumio perhaps not overly satisfied compared to his usual standards. But through nonetheless at this stage. PJ perhaps loses a bit of time there through turn 9. So I think that last bit could have gone better for him. He's improving by 2/10 though. But whether that'll be enough to see him through, or get close enough to see him through over the course of the last few minutes here, I should think he potentially may be out here. But whether he can get himself in front of JB, who's currently the first car out. Landlord retires in from P6 there. Last corner for PJ. Imri retiring too towards the line. PJ improves to P10. So gets himself in there. But of course, if one drive below him improves or sets a fast time, then he's out. And Websy currently is improving by enough. Or at least he was end of the first sector. We'll see what it looks like going through sectors 2 and 3. Big half second there from Websy. And I would like to see him into the 115s, probably around sort of P8-ish. And into the final minute here, that would likely send PJ out. Websy towards the line. 1:15.5. P5 Websy. Big improvements there. And a change to the fresh set of softs. Definitely bolstering the laps of certain drivers. 30 seconds to go. 10th Cannon to P9. It's close to at the minute. But it's a 3-10th gap to Brashman P11 from Curtis P10. And Brashman only improving by a 10th there. PJ could try and do it. JB is almost improving by a 10th end of the first sector. He's almost 4/10ths up through sector 2. Needs about 8 though. Needs a lot more in this final sector. Ericsson wide there. Ericsson likely going out. HB Cook into the second sector now. Second flag is up. Brashman gets to P10 narrowly there. So Curtis is out. Only 4 thousandths between Brashman and 10th and Brashman. JB improves to P11, but he is out. Ericsson was out regardless. HB Cook improving too. He is out as well. PJ, the only driver can still improve his place. He's almost a quarter of a tenth down the first sector. It looks like he's going out too. Well, there we go then. Brashman reserving gets himself into Q3. Fantastic job. And 10th Cannon back in Q3 as well. Been a while since we've seen that, but it's good to see her back there. Grumio in P8 going through. Of course, he'll come down to Q3 for him. He knows what is expected of him in terms of results, especially given how dominant he's been this season, as PJ still can't improve. Both McLarens go through. AT and Landlord. Websy in the top 5 too. Pope P4. Che and Dan P2, P3, but Imri again fastest and by a few tenths as well. So as PJ pits, that'll do it then for Q2 laps. A remarkable run by a fair few drivers there. The top 10 is as we'd expect, but 10th and Brashman making remarkable features there. And both of them in by only a few hundredths over Curtis, who I'm sure would have loved to get his Ferrari to another Q3, but not to be today. JB squeezed in last time. This time qualifies P12, which is definitely a lot higher up than it could have been. Let's see if we can try and get some points for Williams in the Grand Prix. Imri takes Q2 from Che and Dan. Again, about a tenth and a half clear of the closest challenger. Pope P4, Websy P5, AT, then Landlord, Grumio, 10th and Brashman all going through. Curtis, JB, PJ Ericsson and HB Cook. Unfortunately, we were losing those 5 cars. But as for the top 10, it's time for them to fight for that elusive pole position here in Hungary. Q3 will be coming your way in just a matter of moments. So the last 12 minutes and let's get underway here in Hungary for Q3. Who will take pole position? Will it be one of our previous pole positions this season, or will it be someone new perhaps? It's time for us to find out, but we're just waiting on the first few cars to emerge onto the circuit here. We'll keep an eye on the pit lane for anyone coming out. There goes one of the Haas mechanics. One of the Red Bull mechanics on their way out too. McLaren not setting up for their guys to come on laps yet. Oh, there goes AT's garage man. He's away. Pope joining him. Pope, Mercedes' lone hope of victory in this Grand Prix today. Dan again, first on the circuit. We'll have to see in terms of what lap he puts in this time. Of course, struggling in his first run in Q2. Had that invalidation over in the chicane at turn 6. He'll want to try and avoid that. Try and put the guys around him on the back foot with a fast lap. But Imri, of course, has been the one to beat so far. Grumio concerned for him. Of course, they're P8 at the end of Q2. Not fantastic. Not at all his usual standards. P3 in Q1. So he's gone backwards, both in terms of position and lap time. Imri and Che, of course, both cars into the 114. I think they'll be the ones to keep their eye out for. Both of them taking pole. Both of them have been fantastic in qualifying this season. They'll be the ones to watch in this session, I should think. Imri, last corner here. Keep an eye on him, but Dan is onto his first lap. Imri behind it. Oh, spin already. As Brashman has gone around there at turn 5. Recovers it. No damage done to that RB. Keeps himself moving. Top 3 from Q2 on their first laps here. Of course, Che and Imri both had taken poles this season. Che with 3, Imri with 4. Of course, Dan also poles to this campaign. And again, using a lot of curb there. Is that costing him time at all? With perhaps a slide through the chicane as he comes back down to earth? You know, I'm guessing he knows something that we don't in terms of pace to the chicane. But as he goes 53.9 in the second sector, Imri's chasing him. It's 53.1 for Imri in sector 2. So 0.8 the difference there. Of course, the chief part of what that's gained, not entirely sure. 53.7. So Imri quite a way in front here under this first lap. Dan goes fastest, 1:15.8. Imri second to the line, 1:14.7. And I don't know what the situation is in terms of tyres, those two Haas cars, but Imri a second clear of Dan already. Che towards the line. Can he compete? He can't. He's 9/10 down. And if I was Imri, I'd be feeling pretty damn confident right now. What a start to qualifying. Already in the 1:14s on his first lap. 80 into third place there in front of Pope by 0.5. Dan now P5. Gremio invalidating his first lap. Concern here for the championship leader. Let's get himself moving again at some stage. Lando into turn 1, of course, still looking to redeem himself from near victory last week in Belgium. Had to settle for third place on the road. It was a tough pill to swallow, I think, for Dan and McLaren. Both of them were looking sort of their first win of the season. It was 80 there, P3 came home 4th to McLaren too. So big score for Papaya last time out. Good qualifying could put them on the verge to try and repeat that. Che returns to the pit lane here. Imri's also in the garage. Oh, AT, big cut there across the circuit. I'm not sure whether he was trying to pit or whether he was trying to finish his lap, but I imagine finish his lap and pit. And just overshot it. I have to go around again. Lando, final corner here for the former champion. What can he do across the line? 1:15.1. There we go. So Lando into second place. And all of a sudden, that gap bridged a fair bit, but it's still Imri fastest here by 3.5 So I'm guessing it's got to be not using it's got to be using a worn set of tyres for the majority of the pack here, because I can't see any of the reasons to why they'd be this far behind Imri off of raw pace alone. But Lando then finds second place. I'm sure he'll be very satisfied with that. And whether we start to see a different Lando in the second half of the season here. It's been a long time since that last championship back in Season 12 when he fought Gremio for the title. Again, as I've said many times this season, the last time those two weren't teammates in an RDL season. Whether they'll return to that come Season 20, not too sure. Just have to see. So 5.5 minutes left. Gremio and Brashman back on the circuit here. Gremio wasting no time in looking for at least a solid lap to get himself onto the board in Q3. I'm sure he wouldn't like to be starting from P10. I always think back to around sort of turn 11-ish. That's where Gremio has sort of, in the past, Gremio's always made his... In previous occasions where Gremio's made mistakes this late on in qualifying, looking for a fast lap, he's often in the second half that he makes the most mistakes. So be careful for that. Whether he's inch perfect here, we'll have to wait and see. It's a good lap so far. 26.7. So that could be a sign of some good for the reigning champion as he makes his way in through turn 6 and 7 again. Really throwing the car around, really pushing that Williams to the limit here. Over the curve again at going out to turn 9. Keeps the car under control, sliding it a little bit, so the rear end slide out a little bit. 53.1 for Grumio, who seems to be really on it here all of a sudden. Late on in Q3, he's got there's 4 minutes to go. So there is time for at least another run. It's 10th back on the circuit. Imri in the pit lane right now. Last corner for Grumio. Can he get himself up the order at last? He does! And goes fastest. And there is the 9-time RDL champion showing up, as he always does around this sort of time of the evening, regardless of what's gone on so far. Grumio now fastest 1:14.729, and Imri on the back foot, and we'll likely see him, I think, see him emerge from the pit lane to go for one more run to try and get us onto pole. And then Pope goes third fastest. Good lap from Pope there. Puts him on a 1:15.078. I think it's the fastest he's gone all night. So good stuff from Pope. Brashman there, P8, Websy P9. 10th, about to start her next lap. She won't have long, of course. We want to get a time on the board in Q3, I should think. Three minutes left. I imagine we're looking at late runs for the McLarens, the Haas cars, and Imri. There goes Imri now. Out of the garage and onto the racetrack. I think Grumio is likely set from here. He's got time to go in and come back out again. Whether he will is another question. I should think he will. I'm sure he'd love to try and improve on that. Brashman P8 there. 10th through the first sector. Really aggressive in that Red Bull there. Into corners 6 and 7. Very twisty, winding technical circuit is the Hungary Ring. Of course, described for a long time Formula 1 as Monaco without the barriers. Definitely a tough circuit to navigate. Or at least for a long period of time. Oh. And 2 minutes to go. 10th cannon towards the line. Up to P7 there. 1:15.777. In front of Dan, who I think may still improve potentially. We'll see what he comes out with. He'll need to get this lap in. And he'll need to get it valid. Otherwise, it'll be P8 for him. On a day where his championship chase currently has his rival on pole, unless Imri can try and change that. This will likely be Imri's last shout at pole position in this race. After topping the first 2 sessions, doesn't need to improve by much, but of course we'll have to improve by tons because Grumio is going out there for one last run himself. No mistakes can be afforded from Imri here. He may have time to come around for another lap, but I don't think he'll want to use it. He'll want to get it done now. Improving by almost 2 tenths here, so a fantastic start. Buckle up. This could be a very, very enthralling end to qualifying. I see someone's taking out the 100-meter braking board there. But Imri keeping the car under control. And improving now by... Oh, he's lost a bit of time there. Still up by a 10th and a half, though. Is there still more to find? Final sector for Imri. This will likely be his final lap. 10th cannon retires from P7. AT starts his last lap. Landlord coming through as well to start his last lap. Imri towards the line. Improving will go fastest. 1:14.5. So that is the benchmark for Grumio to beat then. Here comes the champion off the last corner. The start will be his final lap. Pope will not get round in time. It'll be P3 for Pope at best. So he, Brashman, and 10th all finished. Next car to the line is Che. Che up by 6/10 here. Putting himself around Pope. Could be looking at a third place. Potentially, maybe even P2 if he can get a good few more tenths out of this run. Towards the line. Che goes third fastest. 1:14.827. It was close to Grumio. Couldn't quite top him. Grumio a quarter of a tenth up. And he's end of this first sector. Next car to the line is Dan. Dan goes P6. AT going through. Then Landlord. Where is Grumio? Grumio going through turn 9 now. AT into the last corner. Grumio's invalidated it. And that could be huge. And that will likely be it for him. AT goes P7. Can Landlord improve at all? Landlord not improving. But gets a bit more down into P4 there. And Grumio has shot himself in the foot late on. And unless Websy has anything here towards the line, that'll do it. Websy to P7. And if that'll put Imri then on pole for the Hungarian Grand Prix. A very, very late scare there. As Grumio invalidates in the second sector. Couldn't cap the lap off. And Imri then will take pole. And he will go alongside the 9-time series champ for the race towards that first corner. There's your top 10 then. Imri on pole from Grumio second. Che in third place. Landlord fourth. Pope fifth. Dan in sixth. That's Websy, AT, 10th Cannon, and Brashman rounding out your top 10. That'll do us then for qualifying. It should be an absolutely enthralling race. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with you in a few minutes' time for the start of the Grand Prix. There we go then. Time for the Grand Prix to get underway here in Hungary. It should be a fantastic encounter around the Hungaroring here in Season 19. It'll be a fantastic Grand Prix to watch. And looking forward to what should be a stunning, stunning race. And I'm now realizing that I had my facts wrong all evening. Pope won the race in Season 17. And it was Season 18. Che took victory last season. So I'll correct myself on that front. In terms of your starting grid then. So Courtney Goblin lines up dead last for Mercedes. Ben 357 alongside him in P19, the RB driver there. Ben W reserving for Alpine tonight in place of Cott, lines at P18. Tough day for the Bens so far. EJ P17 and Ethan starts in P16. In terms of starting tyres, we're looking at mediums for all 5 of them. HP Cook in P15 for Sauber. Ericsson, the only driver to start on hard tyres here. It's mediums for everyone else. But that's that lone kick Sauber then on the white wall tyre. PJ Carroll lines up P13. Again, looking to try and push some more points on the boards to get Aston Martin closer to Sauber in the standings. 11 points separating them going into this one. JB P12, of course, narrowly avoided elimination Q1, Q2 knockout in the end. Curtis P11, close to a Q3 run for Ferrari once again, but couldn't pull it off. Brashman reserving himself into into Q3 there, sorry, and lines up P10 for the race. 10th cannon into Q3 for the first time. I think it's her return. She lines up P9. AT, 4th place last week in Belgium. Can he get himself on the podium perhaps? Lines up 8th place for the start. Websy P7. Lone point scorer for Alpine today. Can he try and get some more on the board after a tough race last week? Of course, contact with Imrie late on in the mid portion of the Grand Prix. Down in P6 there. Down the order, 76 points back from from Grumio in the standings. Pope P5, former winner here. Landlord P4. Che P3. Grumio P2. And Imrie lines up on pole. And this should be a thoroughly enjoyable race. 35 laps coming your way here at the Hungaroring. Che, defending winner, as I say. Apologies, Pope won the season 17 race course in a 1-2 for Mercedes that day. Che was in the Ferrari last season, took victory over Grumio in a fantastic chase. Can he do it again this time round? This time, though, it's Imrie on pole and Grumio to his right for the start. Here we go. Time for the lights here in Hungary for the 13th race of the season. The second half of the campaign gets underway. It's lights up, foot to the floor, and we are racing here in Hungary. Good starts from both Imrie and Grumio on the run towards that first corner. Those two cars getting away. Imrie trying to cover Grumio off, going towards that first corner. The Red Bull slots into the line, moves into the lead. Che trying the inside there on the championship lead, going through turn 1. Pope and Landlord side by side for 4th place. Pope wins out, might try and challenge Che towards turn 2. Can't do it. Everyone keeps it nice and clean here in the first phase of the start, and Imrie leads away. And a comfortable start. What he needs here is early on half-second clear of Grumio already. Everyone quickly into single file here and jockeying for position as you see Courtney Goblin getting 2 places on the race start over Ericsson and Ben 357 there. Imrie leads from Grumio Che. Pope still challenging Che, looking for a move down towards turn 6. Can't quite do it. Yellow flag behind. Car around already, and that's Ben W in the Alpine who's found his way around as Ericsson and Ben 357 challenge each other in towards the chicane, but Alpine getting recovered there. No damage done. Looks okay for now, so we carry on for the minute, but a tough start. Imrie there, almost a second clear. 7/10 in front of Grumio and really on it so far. Perhaps Imrie's strongest start all season. The start he's been waiting for in a fair few races here as Curtis and 10th Cannon go side by side for 9th place. Red Bull versus Ferrari and 10th. Squeezing Curtis out a little bit there. Got squeezed towards the curb. Pushes back in the attack in. Making a move. Curtis still putting his nose in there on the inside. In turn 14, Curtis gets in front by half a car. Look over 10th, going towards turn 1. Spectacular racing this early on as a few cars going for moves here. JB trying on 18 into turn 1. Bad start for AT. Down the order here, down to P11 was P12 as JB goes to that move on the inside on corner exit out of turn 1 and towards turn 2. Slight bit of contact, but JB nudges his way past. And AT trying again though into turn 2 and squeezing alongside McLaren versus Williams. 1990s battle contact there between the two cars once again, but JB gets in front and clears AT there. What scraps in the mid-pack here. Curtis now in front of 10th, JB now in front of AT. Ericsson behind them, penalty if multiple warnings. Of course, started in P14. Tough start to this Grand Prix. Down 4 places on those hard tyres. Perhaps not the right call. Imrie still leads Grumio. Che in 3rd place, Pope still in 4th. So top 5 open up a gap a little bit to each other. Websy currently head of that top 7 train. It's Brashman second back here. We'll be looking at the one stop for the majority of cars in the Grand Prix. Should it run green to the end? But of course, a long way to go still. Imrie not burning through all his battery this early on. On to lap 3. Grumio on pace, Che on pace too. So those top 3 ones to keep their eye out for. Of course, never count out Pope in this Grand Prix in particular. DRS in play obviously for Grumio, but the DRS zone down to turn 2 not long enough to actually make any substantial move. You want to be right there on corner exit really out of turn 1 to stand a chance. There's Ben currently 5 seconds behind Ericsson. Of course, track limits could win the day potentially. Yes, let's be careful, especially going through turn 4. Everyone minding their manners so far. No real concerns through there. Ben being chased by Ericsson still for P18. Courtney Goblin up 3 places on the start. And again, he and Ericsson looking for their first points of the season. And while it looked like Ericsson in qualifying with the best chance of doing that, Courtney Goblin up a few places and currently hanging on to the tail end of the train here with Ethan and EJ in front. Imri by 6-7 tenths here over Grumio. Che in third still. Those guys maintain position here in the opening laps. In terms of position change, there it is. Courtney at the most places with 3. Brashman, Curtis, HB Cook, EJ all up 2 places each. Ericsson down 5. AT down 4. So those two, the biggest droppers so far. On to lap forward. Again, Grumio closes that lead down a little bit, but can't do anything with it right now because he's just not close enough with that DRS zone to play around with. He'll close the gap a little bit here as Imri tries to save a bit more battery going towards turn 2. Just has to play it calmly and carefully here when dealing with Grumio. And the top 6 are now sort of pulling their advantage from Websy, so sort of in no man's land right now. Perhaps at more risk of falling prey to Brashman and Curtis behind. They're leading that train for the last few points. Oh, a bit of a slide there from Curtis, who recovers it, but 10th, taking a big opportunity here, trying the inside into turn 5. Very opportunistic in the Red Bull driver. She falls back into line as EJ gets hit with a penalty. Curtis' teammate, but the Ferrari are narrowly hanging on to the car, saving it, no damage done, and holds on to P9, but of course losing a bit of time to Brashman in front, but still in DRS range, so not a big concern there. Top 6 all staying together here. No one out of DRS range just yet. And these guys all sort of settle into the race ahead now. Imri in control. Off of the last corner. On to lap 5. Going to be getting a lot of time here. And set himself up closer and closer each lap, which is a sign of progress for the champion. Che has shown no real response to challenging Grumio thus far, as Curtis makes the move on Brashman's turn 1 this time and clears him. And I'll leave Brashman prey without DRS to perhaps 10th cannon behind. 10th not close enough to go for the move, but Curtis was, and he takes P8 away. Likely he'll start working on chasing down Websy. He's got clean air to play around with, 3.5 seconds to the Alpine in front. Curtis is trying to solidify some points for Ferrari to help them advance further in front of RB. Of course, as I say, Brashman can't score points. He's a reserve in this race. And Imri again working to open up that lead. I think he knows how threatening Grumio can be in that DRS zone. Grumio 8 tenths back. If that's under more under pressure from Che than he is just pressuring Imri. Pope behind these guys, watching it all play out. Narrowly in DRS range himself, he's got Landlord and Dan to contend with behind him. Websy again, still by himself. Curtis trying to break away, and he's doing a good job of that, to be fair. He's put Brashman out of DRS range completely, and Imri's on the verge of doing that himself. He's 8 tenths up over Grumio as they round the last corner. Grumio had to use a fair bit of overtakes to get himself back close to where he was, take Imri on. He's got a good run here, but again, it won't get close enough. And that's all Imri needs to do right now. Majority of cars likely on the same sort of strategy here. So in order to keep himself properly in the running, he's got to maintain that gap, that distance, to ensure that Grumio can't go for a challenge. And you saw Che was looking around trying to pressure him. Imri there, almost a second clear now. Again, pulling away. He's done fantastically in his opening laps. He is flying here, and Grumio is out of DRS. For a second, was out of DRS range. Che will be licking his lips and thinking, come on, put Grumio out of range to try and get around himself. He's getting closer and closer, but Imri still faster and faster here, showing no sign of slowing down. It's all square behind them in the top 6. Ben W penalty there, multiple warnings on that Alpine. Tough race for him so far, of course, with that spin on the first lap. Wide there at turn 9. Guessing he's got to have damage of some kind here. Oh, and Ben 357 off into the barrier, and that was close. AT pitting. Has AT got damage, perhaps? And does Ben join him in the pit lane? He doesn't. Ben continues on. Lucky to avoid any further damage than perhaps what he had. Medium tyres going on for AT. He's away. He'll likely be the last place car now. Enter lap 7 of this race. The lap's flying by early on. It's Ben also into the pit lane himself. Any change in wing? Nope. Hard tyres going on to Alpine. He's away. Good stop there from Alpine. Getting back on the circuit ASAP. Imri's lead has been shut down a little bit here by Grumio, down to just half a second. Imri trying to avoid pushing too hard here. It's still early on in the Grand Prix, and he was naturally pulling away from Grumio. Struggle over the curb there. 10th cannon, 3-second penalty, yellow flag. And that's Ben 357 around. Recovers it. And where did that spin come from, though? That's the question. Regardless of where it came from, AT is now ripe as chuff here, chasing him for P18. Imri breaking the toe a little bit there, trying to avoid Grumio gaining too much time. He's a bit closer than he was in previous laps. Imri's starting to struggle slightly here. Has he pushed those tyres too much and trying to keep Grumio away? Admittedly, the cars behind not helping him here. Che unable to really challenge either one of them at the minute. Pope still there, P4. Websy again, no threat from Curtis behind, who's managed to put 2.5 seconds on 10th Cannon, who herself is a second and a half clear of Brashman. So she's got that 3 seconds to worry about now. So her aim will be to get herself out to that range of the reserve behind her, or at least out of HP Cook's range. She's about 2 seconds in front, so only needs about one more here to establish herself in the points. I think JB truthfully would need to get around a 2 in order to avoid losing both places. And Grumio again, close to Imri this time. Imri plays same game. Grumio not following him here. He saved a lot more battery. Penalty for Ben there. Webbs into the pit lane. Hard tyres going on. So it's a slightly early stop there for Webbsy, who of course went quite long on the hard tyres last race. Oh! And JB's gone around. JB. Oh, crash! And someone else took a big piece of that. Who was that? Someone came crashing into JB. Who's got himself moving again. And I'm not entirely sure what the series of events was that put him into the barrier, but he was there. Oh, right off the circuit there, spinning off. Big damage on JB's car, both end plates gone. That'll make his race a lot tougher from here. He'll want a safety car, so he's getting back up the field. And Imri into the pit lane here, so pitting. So I think pit stop's sort of starting now. Yellow flag. I think that is just slow JB here. Oh, and Ben is off the circuit too. Ben was retired. Safety car's out. And Imri may have been granted an opportunity to get the race lead back. That camera angle won't change until he leaves the range of the pit lane. There it is. What was the timing like there for Imri, who now finds himself a good 20 seconds back, so may have enough here to get himself up towards put himself back in front, this time on the hard tyre. But Ben 357 out of the Grand Prix early on. So, he's had several slides off towards the barriers and struggled early on those medium tyres. It hasn't worked out for him in this Grand Prix, unfortunately. So he is out. And eyes will be on that gap for Imri as he seeks to try and get himself back onto the racetrack in front of the cars who are with him. Which I think he's actually got a pretty good chance of doing potentially. I have to see in terms of how the situation is in the pits. All 5 of them coming in here. And Imri want to get the hammer down now. Has to listen to the delta there, which could cost him, I think. Have to gun it here down the main straight in order to get himself out in front. I think Grumio might have beaten him here. There is the pit exit. Imri may have lost all those places, so potentially it's going to be close. But Imri emerging in what looks like 4th place. So it hasn't worked out then. Ben reporting the problem with the pedals for him, which will likely explain the running off the circuit. I'd imagine that the brakes are likely failing for him. So the delta's not worked out for Imri then. Finds himself in 4th place. And after leading so dominantly early on, I'd hate for this to be how he potentially loses this race. Of course, it's a long way to go, and he has pace. Of course, he topped all 3 sessions tonight. So the race not over for him just yet, I wouldn't say. We'll see how Grumio does lead in this race. We'll see whether Che tries to put pressure on quickly. Majority of these races in Hungary have a safety car of some kind, so had that out of the way for this season. And JB also out of the Grand Prix here. But did I miss that? JB also retiring from the race. Red rear wing, so rear wing damage has put him out. Tough break then for both those 2 cars who have gone out of the Grand Prix. So some cars not benefiting from this safety car, other cars have done. Grumio, Che, Pope all found themselves gaining places as a result. Imri there, who just chose the wrong time to pit. Of course, I think no one could have foreseen the resulting safety car. So whether Grumio can then establish a lead from where he is now. Che in second, hasn't really threatened him much over the course of the evening. Of course, has been more focused on Imri in front. Pope in 3rd place, same thing. It's been all single file so far in that top 6. Webbsy down to P8 here, so down a few places. And that safety car hasn't worked out for him either. Dan in P6, Curtis in P7. Landlord P5, so right behind Imri there. HB Cook in P10, so one of the Salvers in the points now. 10th Cannon P11, of course, has that penalty to think about. This won't help her case. Ericsson, EJ, Ben, all also with penalties. Brashman, one of the last cars to come through. So just waiting now on the safety car to come back into the pit lane. And it appears as though we may be getting a slight treat here from JB, who may be joining us in the commentary box for the remainder of this Grand Prix. The safety car coming in this lap. And we'll be looking then at the restart. And we have got JB now in the commentary box for us just in time. Looking forward to what should be a fantastic remainder of the Grand Prix.
Hello, Zach. Yeah, should be good. Let's see what happens.
So Grumio will lead them away. Che in 2nd place. Those guys all running that outside line through turn 14. Can try to get a bit more heat into the tyres. And now the green flag back out, and Grumio charging away there. Fantastic restart from the Williams driver, but Pope making a move on Che, and Imri wanting to get involved too. Looking for a move for 3rd place into turn 1. On the outside, going into that first corner. Slight lock up from one of the cars in front. Lalon down side by side behind Imri. Can't find his way around Pope, but Grumio's led away there. Fantastic restart from the champion. Che falls into line. Pope in 3rd, holding off Imri for he's in 4th place.
Yeah, really feisty restart there. Pope's right behind Che. I don't think he's quite got enough. Nope, not heading up into the fast left-hander. But yeah, clean restart, which is what we like to see. Let's see if they can keep it up throughout the lap.
Didn't quite have the legs up towards turn 4 that time round, did Pope. Further back, though, it's all single file for the minute. No one going for anything at the moment. Everyone's sort of shuffling back into as they were before the safety car came out. Of course, you've got to think tough luck for Imri, JB. They're in 4th place, of course, led the entire way so far, and just sort of poor timing there with the safety car.
Yeah, unlucky. Obviously, partly caused by me. Well, Ben was the one that hit the wall, but I also caused an incident a bit earlier on. But yeah, very unlucky. And Gremio has found himself in the lead once again. Let's see if he can keep it up. But there's a long way to go, so I'm sure there's going to be plenty of surprises yet.
Of course, Gremio gunning for his 10th win of the campaign from the first 13 rounds. It's been a remarkable season for him, perhaps one of his best on record in this league. I mean, that's coming only from my experience. Obviously, JB, I'm not sure if you've seen more dominance in that time. But further back, though, action is getting underway. Brashman, EJ fighting with P14, and Brashman wins out there. Ericsson passing Cockney Goblin. He's got Ben on his tail there. All 4 of those guys with penalties in the back. And of course, 10th Cannon has 3 seconds too. So that safety car not helping them on that front.
No, when you have time penalties, especially if it comes late in the race, that the safety car can be just so detrimental. It's actually one of the reasons why drivers like me sometimes struggle, because you need to keep it clean, keep it on the track. If you start struggling a lot running off the track, then yeah, at the end of the race it just tanks you down the order. So those guys, I think, may struggle come the end, especially if there is another safety car. But we'll have to see what happens. Up front though, Gremio's pulling away.
As he has a record of doing, already a second out of DRS range there, and Che is left to sit there and just follow him round already. Of course, he did that for the first 10 laps or so of this Grand Prix before that safety car came out. Didn't really make a move much on the 2 leaders as they scrapped away for P1 in front. Gremio fastest lap there. I think Imri's trying to line up a move on Pope, but isn't close enough for the minute. And that could be story of the evening from here. It's just one of the cars breaking the toe way back there. AT defending from HP Cook, goes around the outside there. He's having a remarkable season himself as he makes the move, or tries to make the move on AT in turn 1. Can't quite do it. Slides a little bit, leaving that first corner. It's almost a dead heat between those two. Down towards turn 2 here. Closer contact. Wheels touching here and there. HP Cook there, sneaking past on the inside. It's very tight between the pair of them. And they still only just clear coming through turn 3. But HP Cook wins out. As I say, I mean, he's had a remarkable season so far in terms of first season full time.
Yeah, both of those guys really strong racers. I think it was mentioned in the Gazette this week. Yeah, he's consistently in the points, and even today when he had a rough start to the race, he's managed to come back and he's in the top 10 again. So hopefully he'll be able to stay there. And AT as well, he's up there all the time and not far behind that sort of Che landlord group in the championship. So if he can get a few more positions, then he may be able to stay within reach. Yeah.
Of course, 4th place from him in Belgium last week. Of course, McLaren were on the verge of what could have been a fantastic victory with Landor, but didn't come to be in the end. Landor running P5 at the minute. Imri a bit close to Pope this time round with some battery in play. He's got a bit more of it than Pope does. It's going to be moved for 3rd place, JV. There goes Imri making his move into turn 1 and clearing his former teammate. And looking in his mirror as Pope is gone, and Imri can try and sail away now as Websy behind them passes Curtis for the 7th spot. Up front, though, it's still Gremio leading by just over a second to Che. Gremio keeping out that DRS range narrowly. It's very close. It could come down to sort of lap by lap thing on that front. But Curtis and Websy still scrapping away for what looks to be 7th place here. Websy trying the outside. It's going to be very close between the pair of them. And Websy, that wily old fox, still continuing to fight in towards turn 4. And he does it. Gets in front of Curtis. Spectacular racing here at the Hungary which always serves up fantastic battles like that. And we've seen it so far in the first half of this race.
Yeah, he may be one of our older drivers, but he's still got it. Websy, he's got, I think it's over 300 races now, and yeah, still showing his class, still showing that he can defend against drivers such as Curtis, who himself is, of course, a long-standing member. But yeah, really solid job there from Websy defending. And a bit further up, as you said, Imri doing well. Often in races falls back a bit, but actually today, he's passed just Pope there, and obviously he did get unlucky with the safety car, so it seems like he has a bit more genuine pace today, which is really good to see.
I think he's very capable of perhaps leading this race and closing up towards those 2 front runners. You see him there within DRS range of Che. Obviously, it might be a few laps where we can actually think to make a move. I think Gremio should keep his eye on his mirrors, because I imagine Imri may come charging back at him later in this race as we continue on behind him. Curtis and Websy still fighting there as 10th Cannon and AT behind them, scrapping for that last point. Of course, 10th has that penalty to think about, but in the meantime, she want to try and take every place she can as she goes down towards turn 2. 80 on the outside here. Those two scrapping away for P10 as they round turn 2 and towards 3 again. It gets very close in here, JB, between at turn 3, but no drama as of yet, and 10th maintains P10 for now.
Yeah, everyone leaving lots of space through there. It's easy to turn into early, especially through that, what was it, turn 1, 2, 3, just not leaving enough space on the inside. But yeah, these guys absolutely showing what they can do. And 80, a little bit of a slide there, that could give PJ a chance, especially if 80 falls out of that DRS to 10th. But 10th has the 3-second penalty, and as I was saying earlier, that could be really, really costly later on. But yeah, those Aston Martins, they're there. They're, you know, if they can just keep in the race, they might pick up a few points yet.
Of course, 8th place from the constructor standings. Only 11 points off of Sauber, but HB Cook, as of right now, adding 2 more points to that tally at the minute. So we will try and maintain those placings and get kick Sauber's a bit further in front. Ericsson down there in P16, struggling here. Of course, he and Courtney Goblin yet to score points this season, hoping for the opportunity of those guys to get one. As Rango's Ben there in the Alpine in the last corner, recovers it. Only a slight spin. Didn't go all the way around, about a 170, if I had to guess in terms of degrees. But Ben saves it. But that will likely cost him a bit further in this race. It's been a tough race for Ben so far.
Yeah, there was a bit of contact earlier on lap 1. I think there was a bit of a concertina through the right-hander just after sector 2 starts. And yeah, just got caught out, I think, and spun. Up front, though, Che's caught up to Gremio here. He's fallen back a little bit, the leader. So I wonder, has Che finally got something to maybe take his first win of the season, because it has been a difficult one so far. You know, podiums, but not necessarily wins, and I think that's what he'll be after. So hopefully today he might just do it. So let's see what happens.
Of course, won this race last season. I made the mistake earlier. I thought Pope won this race last season, but I'm thinking a season back to season 17, when of course Pope and me got that 1-2. Both those two cars involved looking to try and take good results today. Imri, of course, knows plenty in places. Oh, there goes Che to the inside for the race lead on Grumio, and he will take it for a split second. It's still dead even at turn 1, but Che nipping him from that DRS, and for the first time in quite a while here, JB, Che leads an RDL Grand Prix.
Brilliant move. Grumio quite slow. I don't know if he was harvesting the battery a bit more than he expected Che to be right up behind him, but yeah, really, really good move. And I wonder if we might see these guys swapping positions. Imri's right there as well. Fantastic. There's a bit of a gap to Pope, but yeah, those top 3. Oh, Ben's
in the pit
retired in the pits. Yep, so there won't be a safety car or anything. But yeah, Che, brilliant move, and he's pulling away.
Indeed, he is, JB. Fantastic pass for the race lead from Che. He's already 7/10 clear. He's found a 9th gear, I think, in that Haas machine as they round turn 11. And Imri, as you said, is looking now right in Grumio's mirrors and looking for an opportunity to try and get himself away as well. Pope, they're still P4. It's still these 4 through 6, still more or less as they were early on in this Grand Prix. I think actually in the same spot as they started the race. Nope, sorry. Pope has gained 1 place, of course, at Landon's expense. Dan's still in P6. He's had quite a quiet race despite still being in the chase. And hopefully Ben's AI won't impact these guys in any way, shape or form as he enters lap 20 in this Grand Prix. Nearing.
Pulled off, yeah.
Should be, yep, there we go. He's despawned, all okay. Imri close, not close to Grumio just yet, but you can tell he's going to want that race lead back, given he was taken away from him in a circumstance he couldn't control earlier on.
Yeah, Imri's always feisty. Definitely one of our more, I don't think he'll mind me saying, but one of our more aggressive drivers. Always puts up a fight, which is good to see. And yeah, I think Che is maybe the quickest of these 3, but it's hard to tell right now, especially as we head towards what I think will be a second stop. Not guaranteed necessarily, but it is a long way to go on the tyres otherwise. So it's going to be close. And yeah, a shame about Ben, by the way, just pulling out there. But I think maybe he got some damage, which, like me, wasn't repairable. So yeah, just one of those things.
Bit of a slide there from Che through turn 12. Obviously, he recovers the car, but may lose a 10th or 2 to Grumio as a result. It wasn't much, and it looks as though he's maintained that advantage, but Grumio will be right on his tail, and Imri there as well. So we could be in for a very interesting fight between 3 fantastic drivers, 3 very different drivers in terms of style over the last 15 laps. That should make things a lot more interesting. I think the only thing that would make it more interesting, JB, is perhaps more DRS zones, if I'm being truthful.
Yeah, only the two. I thought there used to be a third one, but I think they got rid of it maybe. One thing I've just noticed: Imri very low battery especially compared with Grumio. If Grumio was to go on a bit of a charge suddenly, he might potentially fall out of DRS. Although right now he's doing all right. I think he's about half a second behind. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, but he needs to charge up that battery in this middle sector because otherwise he's going to struggle throughout the rest of the race.
I think since the implementation of having 4 ERS modes to play around with in F1 24 came about, I think Grumio's probably been the best at managing that over the course of a Grand Prix. And you see in there, he's got almost a full charge here, and he'll hold that for a fair bit over the course of these next 15 laps. He'll use bits here and there, but you'll see we'll get towards the last lap or the last few laps. He'll still have about 80% to play around with towards the end of this thing. So it should be interesting to watch. Imri, very different in that sense. Often it burns through a lot of it quite quickly. I mean, he managed it fantastically before that safety car came out, but since then he's been burning through a fair bit of it to try and keep up with the top 2. And he's doing a good job. I think this could be his best chance, perhaps, of making a pass at Grumio for P2, perhaps, if he gets a good exit here.
I think he's just lacking though with the ERS, and if he's having to use ERS to keep up, compared with Grumio, who's managing to harvest it, that might not bode well if he wants to win the race. But yeah, like you said, he is staying with them at the moment, and a bit further back, I've just noticed Cook and Websey side by side into turn 1. Cook slightly fresher tyres. But I think unless Websey can make a move into the next turn, he thinks about it. But yeah, not quite. Good racing from those guys.
Cool. Websey, one of the few drivers who made that stop before the initial safety car came in a lap or so before it came out. But there he goes, making a move towards turn. Oh, contact! Around go both cars. Both cars getting there. That could be trouble for the cars who are coming through turn 5, turn 4 now, and everyone's gotten away unscathed somehow. That was very, very close to what could have been a bigger incident. And perhaps the second safety car was almost on the line there. But both cars get away with that damage somehow.
Yeah, I didn't quite see what happened. The camera angle wasn't brilliant there with the replay cam. But yeah, Websey trying to get around the outside. I don't think that move was really on. We'll have to look at that in the stewarding. But 10th will be absolutely licking her lips because she has just managed to gain 2 places there in spite of her penalty. And we've got some pit stops.
Imri is in, Pope is also in, so 2 of the top 5 going for their second and what should be final pit stops of this Grand Prix, short of a late switch to soft tyres under a safety car perhaps. Imri is away, runs over a few Mercedes mechanics while he's doing it. I think just down to the rejoin there to the pit lane. I do enjoy those little sort of comedic moments you get with the F1 games sometimes. But Imri's away. And
10th was held up a bit there because she's come in behind Imri and the Red Bull team weren't really ready, so she might have lost a second or so.
The dreaded double stack can often do that to you in the F1 game, which is, I think, has sort of been a fact of life over the last couple of years with this game engine. But over time, though, I think we've gotten used to it, and obviously we're careful sort of timing that sort of thing, although we'd rather do without it. But Imri now on fresh hard tyres. I'm all over the shop. We'll see here how much time he gains compared to Grumio and Che in front of course, staying on his hard tyres for 12 laps. I guess I could probably go a bit longer than that, but I'm not entirely sure. Of course, I'm not the driver in this commentary box, JB, so.
Well, my strategy was 2 stints of mediums on about 10 laps and then 15 laps, 1 set of hards. But as you can see, some drivers have picked the harder allocation, like Imri and Pope. They've gone with 2 sets of hard tyres. So the leaders need to be careful here. As Che is in, they could get jumped here if they're not careful.
And Dan going for a double stack too. So this might not pay off for Haas. As you saw a minute ago with 10th Cannon, JB, we could be looking potentially at another double stack problem here. I think, yeah, we definitely are, I should think. Unless they timed this fantastically. I mean, Dan stood a little bit there, so it could have been worse. But yeah. I think just do without that. Medium tyres, though. So that'll be a change. And Imri emerging in front of Che. Nearly side by side into turn 1. And Imri gets ahead. But Che will be on the faster tyre for the rest of this Grand Prix. So how will that play into Haas's hands? He's going for it again. Oh, contact!
Side by side. Is Che going to be able to hold it around the outside? He might want to back out here. Oh,
he's going for it!
Oh, he's
up
done that.
That's a
fantastic move, but are they going to be side by side? No, Imri backs off. That was a really good move there by Che. I think he had to do that because he has that fresher tyre right now. He has the softer compound as well. He needs to pull away, although he might struggle because Websy, who hasn't pit yet, is now right ahead of him. But yeah, there's a nice mix of strategy here going to the end of the race. I think the medium will drop off quicker, but if Che and Dan can make it work, then they may have a big enough gap to the guys who have gone on to the hards.
So the onus now falls to one Salve Grumio, 9-time champion, former Hungaroring race winner, in terms of where to go on strategy from here. Does he try and run these tyres to the end? I think it'd be a stretch, but I think if anyone can do it, it'd be Grumio. Landlord there in P2. Is he trying the same thing? Are these two perhaps having one last trick up their sleeves despite not being teammates this season? Oh!
Che getting pushed. Che and Websy there.
Oh, that was Websy!
Oh.
Big shunt there!
Oh, wow.
Wow! Safety car out again. And
this is going to play in really well for the guys who haven't pit yet.
Well, there we go.
Wow.
What happened there? I mean, JB, you had your eye on it there, so I'm not sure. Were you sure?
Well, Che and Websy were side by side around the last corner, and Che had gone off track, and then Imri tried to follow him round the outside past Websy, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was maybe a bit of lag or something. I didn't see Imri move over on Websy, but yeah, that was a massive crash, and that's a shame for Websy. He was obviously away for a couple of weeks and came back last week, only a couple of points, and it was looking a bit more promising, but yeah, just one of those instances. That's both Alpines out now, so no points for them today.
Tough day, and of course HB Cook will be looking to try and just close a few points perhaps if he can get himself back inside that. I mean, he's into the points right now given that 10th has a penalty, and obviously Brashman is a reserve, so that'll be the main aim I think for Sauber coming into this Grand Prix, to get themselves a few more points on the board, try and eat into that lead that Alpine have in P6. I think that's sort of best, that's sort of scrap for the bottom 5 places in the constructors as of right now. But as you say, JB, that'll play into Grumio's hands massively. Same for Landlord, same for Curtis. Could Curtis be looking at, actually, Curtis actually quite close to the cars behind him, so I shouldn't imagine he'll gain a ton out of this, but will likely put himself the points playing place, which are doing good for Ferrari as they try and close an Aston and the constructors.
Yeah, here they come then into the pits. It's going to be interesting to see whether these guys gain. Obviously, they do have to stick to a delta, but they will, I think, gain. Let's have a look. Yeah, Grumio's going to come out quite comfortably in first. Is Landlord going to manage to... No, he's going to slot back in. Oh, that was close. Imri making sure there that Landlord didn't get through. But he now has fresh tyres, so Landlord might be a surprise of the race here if he can get past these guys ahead when we get back to racing. Curtis up to P7 after his pit stop. That's really solid. I think that would be his best result of the season. He's currently on 16 points, so not been the best season. I think there has been a bit of a split in terms of the top teams and then the midfield teams, but it will help Ferrari as well, who, if I'm right, are currently 9th in the championship, so yeah.
That is correct. 23 points for Ferrari, just 1 point clear of RB at the bottom of the table. Of course, we've seen this in recent years, JB. We've always got the few teams sort of scrapping to avoid finishing last. There's always a talk about in the sort of the run-in phase of the season, the last few rounds, perhaps the championship up front, so wrapped up if Grumio's got it already, if Grumio or Landlord have normally taken it. So we always keep an eye on sort of the bottom teams as they race to avoid that wooden spoon come the end of the season. As you say, obviously Landlord on fresh tyres, and I think the safety car will work out nicely for the two Haas cars as well. Che and Dan, of course, as they can keep their tyres up to temperature, they'll have relatively fresh ones for the restart. I mean, fresh as they can be given those few laps they ran. And we're looking at, I'm going to say 8 laps, sort of dash to the end. So there shouldn't be any risk in terms of tyres really falling away, except the fact that those mediums might really sort of fall off towards the end, I should think. So Che, Landlord, Dan, Kurt, I think we can't push it too hard. They've just got to sort of rely on that tyre being naturally faster than the hard compound. But we'll have to see here, because obviously Grumio led away from the restart. He commanded that last restart. So I have to see what he's got this time round, whether he tries to go for the same thing. Because often we see him try and switch up in terms of how he leads away. Yeah,
it's a tough one to judge here. Obviously, Che has the better tyres. They are a couple laps older, but he will have the pace off the restart. But he will need to take the lead very, very quickly, because if he doesn't, Grumio's gonna, there'll be that crossover point, the hards being the same pace, and yeah, if Che can't get through, it's going to be tough for him.
Tough indeed. So a lot to think about going into these last few laps of the Grand Prix. Dan, I'm thinking about there in P6, of course, as it stands, is going to lose, I think, another 17 points to Grumio in the standings. That'll put the gap to, if I do my maths here, that'll put the gap to, I think, 93 points in the standings, so almost 100 points separating first and second, which I think is something I've never before seen in the RDL. And given how wide open this season looked on paper, going into the start of this new campaign, the new game, Grumio has sort of given the field an old school whipping here, if for a better word.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit Verstappen-esque his season so far. 2023. It's been quite remarkable. He was good last season as well, but not as quick. Safety car's in this lap then, so we're going to find out, I think, whether these medium guys can get the jump on those on the hards, or whether the tyre difference just isn't as big as we're maybe expecting.
So, of course, 3 drivers who are all gunning for their first wins of the season. First wins in a little while here. Che, Imri, Landlord, all right there behind Grumio, who, of course, has got 9 to speak of this season. I'm sure these guys would love to take one off him, given how dominant he's been. What will he do on the restart here? Where will he go? He's heading up to turn 14 now. You can see everyone in one shot there. All 16 remaining cars in this Grand Prix. He's going for the same tactics he did last time, JB. Looking for a good restart. Che on his inside, though, trying to take advantage of when Grumio pulls away. Not going for it yet. Wait for it. There he goes. Grumio making his move and moving away. Perhaps not as good a restart as last time. Imri going for it immediately here on the run towards turn 1. This benefits Imri greatly, having that fresh ERS plan, where we've chased the inside for the race lead into turn 1. As you say, JB, he needs to move. Contact there in that first corner between the 2 race leaders. They head out of turn 1 and downhill towards 2. Side by side, Williams and Haas, these 2 rivals of recent seasons, going side by side for the top spot here, going through turn 2. Imri behind them. Landlord trying for 3rd place if he can through turn 3. Can't do it. Falls back in line. Top 4 breakaway here. Down a little bit further back, but he's got P5 off Pope, so work to do for the 2 Haas cars, but Grumio leads away, and Imri, narrowly holding off Landlord there through turn number 5.
Yeah, he didn't quite make it stick there, Che. There was a little bit of contact in turn 1, bit sideways, and it ruined his exit, and unfortunately just didn't have enough to go around the outside at turn 2. So one of those things, if he needs to make the move now, I think. This will be his last chance going into turn 1, because I think after that the tyres are going to start dropping off too much. So he is right behind Grumio still. Can he do it? We'll see.
Of course, no DRS yet until next time round. Had a yellow flag for Ericsson, who lost a bit of front wing there, and a bit of end plate too, so must be a miss, so apologies for missing that. I think he's got both end plates missing, as a matter of fact. But on to the main straight now, and Grumio leads. 7 laps to go. Che making his move. Grumio not using his battery, so I think waiting, saving it a bit more. As I said, JV, half seen that battery, but Che going to go for it now, making his move to the outside this time. Have the inside for turn 2, if he can keep himself alongside Grumio. No DRS as of yet. Grumio keeping himself in front, defending the inside, so Che will try the outside instead this time, in towards turn 2. Close to make contact again there, and Grumio is sort of trying to squeeze Che out. He does just that. Che, they're still in P2, and Imri chasing those guys, a bit in no man's land compared to the cars around him and behind him. Oh, contact! Oh. Che goes around, saves the car. Imri in 2nd place. Yellow flag behind, all safe. Che's kept the car on the circuit. He's kept it in P4. I mean, his chance to win the race is likely shot now, but that was a fantastic save.
He has, but I think that was a bit of a heat of the moment move. Not really anywhere near up alongside into the fast left-hander. Yeah, I think he's going to regret that, and probably already is. But yeah, hopefully he can come back, but I don't think that move was on.
So now 2nd place falls to Imri, of course. Led this Grand Prix earlier, but it's almost out of DRS range here to Grumio. He's got to keep within that 2nd range, which he's not doing at the minute, towards turn 14. He's got to get himself back in range. He can't do it. Grumio, actually, he might have done it. I'm not too sure. I mean, I think update's quite slow. Imri has not done it. No DRS for him, but he has to try and break the toe to Landlord. He's got those fresh mediums, as you said, JB, before the restart. Landlord wants to get up there fast, and towards turn 1, there he goes, passing Imri into 3rd place. And now it's up to these 2 generational rivals, perhaps over the entire history of RDL, Landlord and Grumio. And now he's fighting for the race win. If Landlord can catch back up and try and get revenge for last week in Belgium, it's going to be a fantastic finish, I should think, with 6 laps to go.
Yeah, Landlord, ever since he's got his equipment sorted, he's been back on the pace. I think he's enjoying this game a bit more than the last one. So he's been on it, quite frankly. And like you say, last week, narrowly missing out. And question is, I mean, he has the same age tyres to Grumio, unlike Che. So he may still have some left in the tank here to try and close up into that DRS zone. But Yeah, it's going to be tough because, like you say, Grumio is one of the, well, he is, I think, the best driver in RDL at the moment. So we'll have to see as we come towards the end of the lap.
Well, he's got 124 wins he can use as evidence, I think, if I'm getting my numbers correctly, compared to last week. I've got to try and remember this tally week upon week as I go, but obviously I'll check the Hall of Fame if I need to. But regardless, 5 laps to go, and Lando 1.3 backs, not actually getting much of a Grumio here. I think imagine he's using a bit of batteries to try and keep himself in front, and there it is. Fastest lap, but Landlord there as well, as perhaps this race not over yet as they go towards turn 1. In terms of behind them, though, top 6 breakaway, Curtis, actually top 7 breakaway rather, Curtis is still with these guys. AT in P8, 10th Cannon P9, but HP Cook might go for a move here, might send it into turn 1, can't do it. Of course, 10th has that penalty to think about, but she may yet finish in the points. Brashman and PJ fighting for P11. PJ wins out, but he's 2.5 seconds back from HP Cook as it is. So 10th may narrowly hang on for a points paying place, perhaps. Have to wait and see over the last 5 laps. She's currently holding off HP Cook for 9th place. AT, though, in front of those guys in 8th.
Might do. I know 10th has really been hoping to get some points today. She wants to help Red Bull in the constructors. It's been very much a one-man band for Imrie this season. Obviously, Matthew racing early in the season before he left, and 10th doing just enough at the moment. Oh, but I think PJ's starting to catch them, and yeah, at the moment, if it was finished as it is, she will lose that point to PJ. Brashman a reserve, obviously, so he doesn't really need to be taken into consideration. Courtney Goblin in 13th. He hasn't scored any points either. You never know what might happen, but I think with that penalty, he will struggle. But yeah, some great battles further down the field there.
Definitely an exciting midfield in the closing phases of this Grand Prix. As you say, Courtney, I think without that penalty, would be perhaps sniffing a chance to break into the points up front, though. The 2 Haas teammates making a move. Dan passing Che. Here's Nick Dan getting a few more points to try and limit the damage to Grumio will be doing in the Drivers' Championship. I think short of Grumio taking a long vacation, I think the Championship's likely almost done and dusted. It's a formality at this point. The Grumio will go on to win it. But you never know. We'll have to keep an eye out. But Grumio here, 10 wins from 13 races. You can't really deny it unless he finishes this thing off. Perhaps with a late penalty, you never know. But as of right now, he's 2.6 in front of Lando. I think his medium tyres have fallen off a lot faster than anticipated. If anything, he's under more pressure from Imrie behind, who may still take 2nd place in this thing. You never know. So I have to wait and see on that front. Che down there in P5, obviously, had the chance. Had to try and win this Grand Prix. Yellow flag for the back. That's one, and that is Brashman has got around.
Brashman.
That's the reserve almost found the barriers at the exit turn 5.
He found the barriers there twice in quali. Well, almost twice. Once, I think it was in Q3, and nearly hit it earlier. And we have another
yellow again. Che.
Oh, that's Che.
I mean, kept the
so he's around. Yeah, not. I think he let Dan through into turn 1, but it's all just got away from him. I don't know if maybe he picked up a bit of damage when him and Grumio came together, but it's a shame because it's just not worked out again for Che. But as I said, I think that move was never on.
Jimmy, I have to cut you off here because it goes Imrie for a move into turn 1 for 2nd place. Oh, he slid it there into turn 1. Tried the outside, couldn't quite go for it, Jimmy. I'm sorry for cutting you off there, mate. Imrie was going for it for the 2nd spot. Tried the outside there. I think Lando was defending underneath, so couldn't really... Didn't have a lot of choices, but had a whole head of steam and had to do something with it. So tried the outside, didn't quite pay off for him. And those hard tyres likely nearing the end of their tether. I think as of the cases for medium tyres. As Brashman retiring from the Grand Prix there. Ericsson set soft tyres, didn't notice that. He made the change after that damage he got earlier on. So Brashman out then, 15 cars as it stands on the course to finish this Grand Prix with 2.5 laps to go. It's Grumio's race here. He's 4 seconds to the good. He'd need 2 track limit penalties to stop him winning this race now. That'd be tough to get in terms of the last few laps. I don't think even I could do that, truthfully.
No, I think the mediums have died off now. Imrie, I think, still got a really strong chance of getting into 2nd. I think one driver who will be a bit disappointed with today is Pope, who, he said last week that Hungary was one of his best tracks, and it's just not really come together. He had the pace last week, but I think, it ebbs and flows as you go to different circuits, and I think just today, for whatever reason, the setup's not quite been right. But here goes Imrie. He's got the DRS, but again, he's got no ERS, and that's going to make things very difficult. Yeah, just not quite enough.
Yeah,
no.
Oh, wow. That was close.
Thought he was going there. I thought he was going to do what I did and crash into the wall. It's very easy to pick up the wheel spin, even though you're running basically 4 wings. Yeah, the traction's not great coming out of turn 1. But yeah, luckily, still in the race and didn't bin it.
and still on for that podium finish. As you see Pope defending from Curtis there, going into turn 4. Pope holding him off. Curtis, of course, some fantastic points for Ferrari to try to help them get closer to Aston Martin, who I think aren't scoring any points as of right now, unless PJ can get one off of 10th in the closing laps here. Grumio 5.5 now in front of Landlord, and Imrie still trying it. And Landlord's got a lot more ERS. I think Landlord will likely be safe in second place, unless Imrie gets a fantastic run here or Landlord makes a mistake going on to the last lap. But we'll see what happens as Grumio rounds turn 13. It's been a fantastic Grand Prix for him, of course. Led the majority of the way. Of course, had to fight Che for the good mid-portion of the Grand Prix. Was led by Imrie for the majority of that first stint, or for the entirety of the first stint. But as he starts the last lap now, Grumio on for the victory. And Imrie might have one last chance to try and run down Landlord. He's using his battery, using all he's got right now, going towards turn 1. I think Imrie has to try to re-send it, have any sort of chance here. I think his chances of P2 are shot unless Landlord makes a mistake on this final lap.
Yeah, Curtis a bit further back, very close. Oh, we've got a battle further down as well. 10th and 80 side by side. I think 10th is going to lose out here. She's probably going to drop out of the points with that time penalty. She may get it appealed after the race, but they're still side by side. 80.
Oh, 80.
Cook's right behind them. He's going to try and take advantage. Not quite. They stay in the same positions. Good racing.
Good, clean racing, what we like to see in the RDL. 80 maintaining P8 then on for another decent result. Good point scoring finish for the team. With 26 points going McLaren's way, provided that Landor could hold Imrie off in this final sector. But starting the last sector now, honestly, I doubted Grumio earlier on tonight. I thought he wasn't on it. It was a P3 in Q1, P8 in Q2. Second place qualifying, led the majority of the Grand Prix here, and as always, he's set himself apart from everyone else. It's going to be 10 wins from 13 rounds. One of the most dominant seasons in RDL history continues on as the march to the 10th Drivers' Championship continues for Grumio. He wins here in Hungary. Landor, final corner, will hold off Imrie narrowly for second place. Imrie in third place, who will feel like, I think, no doubt feel like he's had that one taken away after leading early on. Dan P4, Pope P5, Curtis P6, fantastic points for Ferrari. Che also could have won the Grand Prix, led it for a little bit, finishes P7, AT P8, HP Cook P9, and PJ Callum had the last point over 10th. PJ really closed in the end there. Ethan P12, EJ P13, and Cottony and Ericsson will round off the order. JB, fantastic Grand Prix from Grumio, has to be said. A chaotic one, but he survived the chaos and again come out on top.
Yeah, what can you say? It's just inevitable almost. Just sort of doesn't matter where he is at the start of the race, the middle of the race, at the end of the race. He just seems to pop up into the lead. And yeah, just really fantastic job as we watch Ericsson come around the last few corners. But yeah, I there's no words. I don't think we've seen a performance like this in RDL for some time. And the closest would be his own in one of the previous seasons. So yeah, just fantastic.
So career win 125 then. My number was correct from earlier, which I was quite pleased with for Grumio then. And that will likely open us up to nearly 100, if not 100 points in the championship. Another victory. You can't stop him. It's insanity. And 10 Drivers' Championships coming towards the end of the season. You can't really argue with that. But in terms of the podium then, it's, again, as we've seen so many times in the past, Grumio, Landor 1-2. For different teams this time, and Imrie in third place. Imrie back on the podium, we're pleased with that, but I think we'll likely have wanted the race win. That winless streak continues on for him. Same for Landlord, of course, about over a season or so. But Grumio seems to never have that winless streak, and he carries on in the march towards the title in what has been a remarkable season. Another remarkable race here in the RDL, a fantastic Grand Prix here in Hungary. And we'll go through the final results on screen now. Grumio wins it from Landlord and Imrie in second and third, down in fourth. Pope takes home 5th place, 10 points for him. I think disappointing, as you said, JB. I think he felt he could have more in this Grand Prix. Curtis P6, Chase 7th in the end. Tough break for him in the last few laps. ATP8, HP Cook P9, and PJ Nabs the final points on offer over 10th Cannon, who finishes in P11 thanks to that 3-second penalty. Ethan, EJ, Cottony, and Ericsson round out your finishers. Brashman classified but finishes 4 laps down in the end. Websy, Ben, JB unfortunately, and Ben357 all go down as retirements in what's been a tough Grand Prix for a number of drivers, but overall a very exciting Grand Prix for the majority of the field here. JB, obviously, give me your thoughts, mate. Think first time viewers, CoCom. What did you think of that?
Went all right, didn't it? I thought I'd better contribute a bit because the race didn't go very well with my collision with Courtney. But yeah, I'm happy with how that went, I think, and hopefully it wasn't too bad for the listeners as well.
mean, speaking personally, I hugely enjoyed it. So I'll say this now: if you ever get tired of racing and you just want to sort of sit back and let it happen, then by all means join me in here, because that was, that was fantastic. You did a brilliant job, mate. And we'll look towards the post interviews. I'll see if anyone does join us. Saying that, I did want to ask the rear wing damage. I think someone actually shunted you when you were in the barrier. Do we know who that was?
Well, yeah, when I was, I spun out of turn 1 and I floored it against the barrier to keep as far right as I could. And I don't know what happened with Cottony. I thought he could have avoided me, but he didn't, and he hit me. And unfortunately, it gave me the red damage. I'm not someone who gives up in races, so it wasn't something that I did lightly. But the car is literally undrivable once you get, any kind of serious damage to the bodywork. So just one of those things. And yeah, happy to put my other talents to good use.
Well, speaking of talents, we do have a few drivers in here for post-race interviews. We'll have 10th Cannon there, who, of course, narrowly dropped out the points in the end. 10th, tough break in the end of that penalty. Could it have been avoided, do you think?
Yes, actually, that penalty is getting removed. I did finish 10th.
Oh, all right, then. Okay.
No, I got a weird... you know how it does that thing sometimes where instead of giving you 1 warning, it'll give you 3 for no reason other than just because they can? That happened. I only had 1 other warning other than that, so if I can get that removed, which I'm hoping to, that is hopefully a point.
I mean, the race as a whole, obviously quite competitive in the midfield. How did you find out there?
Terrifying, to be honest. It was so weird being that far up after the last 2 races of nothing much happening, and I'm a bit disappointed with only 10th because I definitely had the pace to get 8th, but I couldn't get past AT, and then I made a mistake and HB Cook got past me. So well, I mean, it was fun though. I actually had fun racing for the first time in a bit. Not that RNL isn't fun. I love it here, but like the games are sometimes hard to sit through. But this one was fun. I enjoyed this one.
Good to hear. Obviously, Q3 appearance as well. Nothing to sniff at. Would you say that's sort of returned to old form? Because that used to be the case for you back in the day.
I hope so. I doubt it. I really don't know where that pace came from, but I'm hoping that I can do it again. I mean, I want to be at least making Q2 every race. It would be nice to have a return to form and be challenging for points again. It's kind of feels kind of pointless when you're not in the top 10, because otherwise you don't really get anything out of it.
Pointless in a literal and figurative sense. In terms of Zandvoort next week, of course, obviously staged for chaos over the course of the last few seasons. Is the aim just to survive there, perhaps rack up a point or 2?
If there's chaos, then I stand to benefit. I'm generally the benefactor of most chaos. I remember HB Cook and Webbsy had an incident, and I managed to just skate past them both. That was fun. I don't know. We'll see. I'm looking forward to it though. I just have to get some practice in.
Fair enough. I'll have to see how it goes for you next week. Well, that was 11th Cannon then, and we'll come now to Touch Me Pope, who came home in the Pope who came home in the 5th spot. Pope, after we know this is one of your favourite tracks. Are you disappointed with the result, or are we pleased with
that? Yeah, that was awful. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the track. The track felt great in time trial. And then in the race, it was horrific. I did a little bit of practice, and even in the other sessions, it felt right. But I tried something different with my setup, and clearly it didn't work. So, lesson learned: don't mess around with time trial setups.
I mean, obviously there was a lack of overtakes things just in general over the first half of the race for that top 6. Was that something you felt you suffered from?
I mean, I got a really good start. I was really close to Che a couple of times, but I just couldn't get the traction down out of, I think it's turn 3, I believe, turn 2, one of the 2. But yeah, probably the best start I've had all season. I've figured out how to actually do a race start now, which is nice, headed into, September, 3 months after the game's release. But no, it was enjoyable to an extent. Just got my 10 points and a little bit of gap gained on Che, but obviously lost quite a bit to Landlord.
I think that fight for P3 in the Drivers' Championship is very much on. Is that still a fight you feel like you can win?
It's a good question. I'd like to say yeah. Like I say, I should be 20 points ahead of where I am now, minimum, which is frustrating at times, but it's something that I'm just gonna put to the side now and just bring up every single post race interview. That I should be 20 points ahead, but no, it's clearly I've got some decent pace. Let's just take one race at a time, and I got 2 podiums in the past 3 races, so that's a good sign.
And is there a chance of you adding to that next week in Zandvoort?
I genuinely don't remember the last time I drove Zandvoort in this league. I think it might be like 2022. I think maybe it's just a race track that I always seem to miss for some reason. So I don't really know what league racing's like around there. So I'm excited for it. All I know is it's chaos. So that'd be good fun.
So a step into the unknown then for Pope next week in the Netherlands. And we'll come now last of all to Curtis, who joined us just a moment ago. Curtis, P6 in the end, mate. Fantastic result in the end. That safety car definitely played into your hands. What was the idea behind staying out a bit longer on that second stint?
Well, it was more, I wouldn't say force. I was purposely staying out longer than others, but I had 2 sets of mediums, 1 set of hard. I think a lot of other people had 2 sets of hard, 1 set of medium. So I was always going to go a tad longer, and then both safety cars really played into my hands. The first one was perfect, and the second one was a tad early, but was still better than not going there at all, and it allowed me to, in the end, gain a couple of positions.
Of course, chasing Pope in the closing laps of the Grand Prix as well. Given a few laps, do you think you could have got him perhaps?
No, my rears were shot. I think I lost a second on the final lap just from sliding about in the middle sector. So I made like a dive on the last lap into T1, and I think if I sent it any more, I would have hit him. So that was all she wrote.
Fair enough. I mean, good points for the team. As it stands right now, a 7-point gain for the Constructors' Championship. Could be 8 if 10 gets her penalty removed. So that brings down the gap to Aston Martin. Is that a gap you guys can close, try and get P8 for the end of the season?
I'm not really paying attention to the gaps. I just turn up and try and do the best result, go race by race. Yeah, as we get closer to the end of the season, I might pay a bit more attention to it as it becomes a bit more important. But if I can get a similar result next week, then why not?
Do you know what? I respect that. That's quite a good way to race. I mean, in terms of Zandvoort next week, how is that circuit for you? What's the prediction there? How are we going to get on?
Absolutely mental. I mean, I came here not expecting to do very well because it's not really my kind of track, and then Zandvoort's also twisty, but I did better here than expected, so hopefully next week goes just as well.
Well, a lot to look forward to then next week in Zandvoort, 8th of September, same time, same place here on the Zach RC channel. That'll do us then for coverage tonight of the season 19, round 13 of the season Hungarian Grand Prix. Hope you have a fantastic evening. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more future audio content, and we shall see you all next time. Goodbye.